Hey, Dan, question of the week. The retailers, they're sending Dan questions. Lots of great ones. What came in the inbox this week?
It came from Rachel in Mooresville, North Carolina. Town close to my heart. Love Mooresville. Got to spend some time there.
Hey, Rachel, how you doing today?
My best friend in life, my brother from another mother, lives down there in Mooresville. And so this question came from Rachel. It said, I kind of liked it, so I dropped the whole question here. It says, hey, Dan. Hi, Dan. Doesn't say hey. It says, hi, Dan. Thank you for the great information on last week's podcast about being hyper-published. It was a great reminder. We're doing a pretty good job of getting customers to our Shopify web store, and we're getting sales almost every day. Good on you, Rachel. Keep plugging away. Yep. And she goes on to say, we also get emails from customers about our return policy. Can you give me some advice on how to handle these requests? What are other stores doing? Thanks, Rachel. And so, Rob, what are other stores doing? We talked about that a few minutes ago.
Social proof.
And one of the things that I quickly identified here was that Rachel's return policy was really front and center and perhaps a bit restrictive. And my my gut reaction was, oh my God, I hate policies. They drive me nuts. They, more times than not, are a scapegoat or a simple way to avoid the real work that's required in retail. And that real work is making customers happy. Yep. If you need to have a policy, and you do, I know I said I hate them. Hate's a very strong word. I don't like policies, but I do believe that we need a policy. And your policy needs to be very clear in your store and your website. It has to be concise, say it in 3, not in 10, and purpose-driven. It has to have purpose. One of the most common reasons for people, not to buy, Rob, is the uncertainty that it's the right purchase for them. And this happens, retailers, this happens in your store every day. She hems and haws about an item because she's being forced to make a decision that has potentially unhealthy consequences. Unhealthy to the pocketbook consequences for her. And a clear and concise return policy could be the inspiration that she needs. Just as you need the right inventory in the right category at the right time, so does she. And sometimes impulse will take over for her. And a return policy could be the thing that stops her from buying rather than inspires her to buy. And so I shared with Rachel, I share it here wide open, not ashamed of it, my return policy. It's what I believe. It's what I coach with retailers. It's what I coach with the kids on Twig and Berries. This is my policy. If you're not happy, I'm not happy. Simply return the item. We'll help you find the right item or refund your money. No ifs, ands, buts, concise. If you're not happy, I'm not happy.
But Dan, yes. Everyone's going to return everything.
Yeah, bullshit. Listen, too often, Rob, we create a policy that protects us from the few rather than inspiring the many. How many customers don't buy from you online or in store, don't care, because of your policy? Shouldn't every message you share enable buying instead of preventing buying? When you have a 3% or less conversion on your website, you have to ask yourself, is it the policy? Do we not think customers are looking at that policy? And you can return unworn, unused, unwashed, blah, blah, 7 days. It's all bullshit. And I promise you, if a customer pushes back hard enough, you give in. And now there's 2 pissed off people. Right. You're pissed off because you had to give in. She's pissed off because she had to posture to get you to give in. And listen, it happened to me yesterday at CRS. A customer, bought an item from us 3 years ago now. It worked for her first year of inventory. The thing died for her second year. They only use it once a year. She bought a used item, a reconditioned item, and came back 3 years later and says, hey, this thing doesn't work. What are you going to do about it? Well, we send a technician. He changed the battery. He does some of that. Still not working. It's like, hey, I'm really sorry. There's nothing we can do about it. It's dead. It's dead. Well, let's get you a new one. Well, I've been a long time loyal customer, and I'm really disappointed in the outcome. And so then it became this quick reminder for me that she's worth a whole hell of a lot more to me than that scanner. And retailers, your customers are worth a whole hell of a lot more to you than that $50 item. And I said this as I was sort of conjuring up my answer to Rachel's request, who, by the way, I didn't email her the response. Her and I had a great little chat on the phone. A non-intrusive kind of conversation that we just walked through that, that challenge that she was having. And so I said, before I get raked over the coals on how much it costs, blah, 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 ask yourself what you might be missing with a punitive policy, one that punishes the many for the shitty act of the few. And what do I mean by that? Brad Layden, Revolution Boutique, on one of our very first podcasts, you'll remember, shared a story of a woman that wanted to return a pair of sandals 3 or 4 months after she bought them that the dog chewed.
Clearly his fault.
It's totally Brad's fault, but he did what every retailer should do. He was empathetic, he took it on the chin, and he made her happy. And he shared with us, however 18 months ago, how she was a customer for life of his. And that's what we have to focus on. Don't be forced to make a decision at the end of the day that protects the $50 from the item she bought from you. It pisses her off, and it does not give in to superior customer service. Like we talked about in one of the stories earlier from Brad at customer.com with a K, superior customer service is how we win. And your return policy should be this simple. If you're not happy, I'm not happy. Yep. You know who the offenders are. We know how they're going to try to take advantage, but we know who they are, right? We also know that 95+% of customers never return anything. And Rob, we've talked about this in the past. The biggest reason for return today is fit, not remorse.
And that's driven by, they may not remember what you say to them, but they'll remember how you make them feel. So
yeah. You got to get past this return policy challenge. It's not worth the aggravation that you put yourself through. And so, retailers, if you have a question that you're looking for an answer, we don't have to be pre-engaged in a relationship for you to take advantage of this. Just send an email to dan@thewealthyretailer.com. I will give you what my honest, experiential or experience-driven answer is. It's not just opinion. It comes from a basis of experience, spending a lifetime in retail, working with consumers on both your side, being a retailer, and on this side, being this objective, accountable coach that retail needs. Just send an email to dan@thewealthyretailer.com. I promise to answer the question. I promise to give you a link to a call to spend 15 or whatever minutes with me to talk through that challenge. It's always healthy to get an objective sort of outside opinion that helps give you some clarity.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Right on. That was great. I love these, Dan. I regret we didn't add this sooner in the podcast, but you know what? This has been a great addition, and nice to see the real world questions that, without a doubt, so many other retailers are. Oh man, they took the question right out of my mouth. And
I think, Rob, last week after the podcast aired, they typically air on Thursday mornings. Listeners on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you listen to your podcast, make sure you subscribe. They air on Thursday mornings. We include them in the weekly newsletter, so don't miss out on our weekly newsletter. It is really that place where we bring you certainly these 4 or 5 stories that we talk about, but 4 or 5 more. Rob will sort of give you this week's. Here's the 3 or 4 that we didn't talk about. But you got to go over to retailbycrs.com and subscribe to that weekly newsletter. And we'll continue to share this information. And so I was going to say, I got 4 or 5 questions last week. And after it aired on Thursday or Friday from the newsletter, I don't remember sort of timing. But I answered them all. Like I said, I spoke to Rachel, and it really stuck out to me. Rachel's not somebody we've ever been engaged with before. But because it had Mooresville in it, a little piece of my heart in there, I jumped on it right away, and this is the one. So
you got
no rhyme or
she knew
reason
your brother
other
from
than
another mother.
personal thing, man. That's all.
That's awesome.